Alright, today we'll be reacting to a short animated horror film. Let's just get right into it.
Ah! What a pleasant way to begin my 3 AM shift at Mercy Hospital. The first thing I did as I sat down was cut my finger. It was a paper cut. And despite working at one of the largest hospitals in the state, I couldn't find a single band-aid laying around. I sucked on my index finger like a vampire while I scrambled my desk for that band-aid. I found one. Purple. I'm a hospital receptionist, and all that means is I greet visitors, make appointments, and look nice. Well, as nice as a 30-year-old man who hasn't slept in hours can look. That night, as we call it, it was just me and a few nurses on the floor. Other than that, it was ghost quiet, except for the heavy rain. I sat back on the cheap recliner chair all receptionists get the honour of using. While adjusting my band-aid, I listened to the television mounted on the corner of the ceiling as it broadcasted a seemingly important message.
Authorities say the woman was last seen on Cedar Avenue.
I looked up to see if the television was showing any images of this strange woman.
Hey,
No,
what
it was
you
yet
gonna
another
do? You
crazy
don't know what she
person
looks
with no
like.
name and
You
no
should
face
look
who
out
was
for
supposed to
someone
look
that we
out
don't know who
for.
looks
Not
like.
creepy at all.
Authorities also say the woman was reportedly walking around and asking people very, very bizarre questions.
I focused back
So
on my
what?
desk and continued
Like, she might
working,
just be
but I
crazy
still
in
listened
mind.
as the news anchor went
So why is
on
she
and
asking
on.
bizarre
She
questions?
continued.
The following statement was issued by an unidentified government official.
Listen carefully, folks. Whatever she asks you, answer no. Do not, under any circumstances, answer yes.
Officials won't comment further as to
Why?
why, citing security
Why
clearance.
are you
These are
asking
asking
them?
that you immediately call 911 if you deem anyone suspicious.
I thought that part of the coverage was quite odd, but I wasn't sure anything could scare me anymore. Working here at the hospital, I thought I had seen it all. At the flash of the ruby red ambulance lights, I've seen people come in with severed arms, legs, fingers, people who somehow managed to scoop out their eyes, failed suicide attempts, and much, much more. You get used to it. My head was practically sunk into my desk as I filled out paperwork. That's when I heard something very subtle, initially. I heard it coming from the front doors, the entrance. The automatic doors opened and closed,
That's creepy.
slamming against each other, and sounding an obnoxiously loud thud each time. The very dim lighting I had surrounding my desk flickered incessantly. Hello? I called
Sorry,
out,
1 second,
seated
guys, I
behind
just
the
need
safety of
to,
my desk.
check
Only
my
the whistling
diary.
wind responded. Hello? I called out
18,
again.
which is
I felt
literally-
obligated to check if someone was there, especially since it might have been someone who was injured and needed our attention. I reluctantly picked myself up from my chair and walked over to inspect. I nearly slipped and cracked my head open as the entrance door was
Whoa,
almost flooded from
that
the rain.
face
I
though.
noticed footsteps, wet shoe marks that seemed to come
Footprints,
inside
where
the
they-
hospital and then back out. I stood near the doors, poking my head outside, and looked. All I heard was the distant sounds of sirens and honking cars. The rain poured harder. The peace and quiet was disturbed within moments of me sitting back down. The automatic door started again, opening and closing, slamming shut, and letting in more rain as they did. But this time, I heard gentle footsteps make their way towards me, tapping
there's a foot.
closer and closer. Someone slowly emerged from the darkness between the entrance and front desk. A woman with drenched black hair approached, wearing a dark brown raincoat and a pair of boots that were too large for her toothpick legs. Her face was inundated with wrinkles and wet
But
makeup.
she looks like she's got
Her
no
black
eyes.
eyeshadow
Oh,
smudged.
you guys.
Despite the heavy rain
Ugh,
outside, she
her
didn't seem to have
makeup is
bothered wearing her
smudged out.
hoodie. Hello, how can I help you, ma'am? She didn't respond. She looked around, scanning and
How are
observing
you
an
that
unimpressive
calm?
hospital.
Hello,
Is there something
how
I can help you with?
ma'am?
Still nothing.
Ugh,
We
she's
engaged in a
creepy.
brief stare down, which she won. I looked down and pretended to gather important paperwork. Are you here to visit someone? Then finally, she responded, without talking. She simply nodded and then took a few steps forward, her hands hanging down her side. Her posture was unnatural, almost uncomfortable.
is the
Okay, for
creepiest
now I
walk
need you to
ever.
sign here, then we'll have to wait a few hours for visiting time to begin, I said, pushing forward a sheet of paper and a pen. She raised her arm to sign and then abruptly stopped. She seemed startled by something on the desk. She looked at me, tilted her head, and, with a smile that was as wide as her eyes,
Anything
said,
that tilts the
"Would you
head is
please
creepy.
move that for me?" I was
You
confused
are.
at first, and then she pointed at it with her index finger, as drops of rainwater tapped against my desk while her arm hovered over it. I took the little crucifix we had at the front desk and put it in a drawer. The woman proceeded as if she was going to finally sign the paper and then stopped before writing anything. She dropped the pen on the ground and stood there again, staring at me. She asked me a question.
Do you reject the Trinity?
I'm sorry, I replied. For a few
Oh,
more
oh, that's the
uncomfortable
girl.
moments,
That's the
woman
girl.
stood
Say no,
there
say no,
like
say
an
no,
ancient
say no.
statue. I had no idea what she meant by the question. Ma'am, who exactly are you here to see? Family? Friend? What's your relationship with the patient? Before I could finish talking midway through my question, the woman turned around and walked
She's
out the
out.
door, still smiling
She
and her eyes
is
as wide
out.
as I'd ever seen on a person. I went back to
See, those
work and tried
eyes,
to
though,
move
they're
on,
just-
but her creepy mannerisms were
Ugh,
trapped
oh
in my
my
mind throughout the
God.
night.
gonna
At around
haunt.
4 AM I spotted one of the children in our hospital walking down the hall. Nina, is that you? I called out. All the kids in the hospital knew me. I was proudly considered one of the cooler employees. I let them break the rules. I brought them snacks upstairs and even told them scary stories, despite their predictable regret later on. The nurses would get angry with me every time I held one of my scary story nights. They always had a bunch of bed sheets to change the next morning. I only did these things for the kids when I wasn't busy, when it was a quiet night, and this was one of those uneventful nights, which of course was a good thing. Anyway, it was very odd to see Nina awake at that time, walking down those shadowy halls. She was absolutely terrified of the dark, and yet there she was. Nina, is that you? I squinted my eyes as I walked towards her.
Sorry, Matt.
She began.
I don't want to be there anymore.
What does
She
she
dragged
mean
her
she
blue
wants
blanket
to be
along
there?
with her, which was her way of gesturing to us that she wanted to
What?
move to another room. The other kids bothering you again? I asked. I took hold of her hand and
okay.
began walking her back to the elevator.
Oh, okay.
Matt, please don't make me go back up there. I don't like the new nurse.
I stopped walking. What? I said, kneeling to Nina's level.
She keeps asking us the same question over and over. I said no so many times. I keep telling her no, but everyone
God,
else
that
kept
lady.
laughing with
How
her
did
and
she
saying
get
yes
in?
to her. Please, I
Oh
don't want to
no,
go
the
back
kid
up.
said yes.
Nina's words immediately played flashbacks inside
No.
my tired, overworked mind. Something about a strange woman going around and asking even stranger questions. I didn't pay enough attention to that broadcast to notice the woman, but even if I had, I thought she had left the hospital. I ditched the elevator and ran up a flight of daunting stairs, stomping against each step with all the force I could muster. I probably woke up all those sleeping employees. I was so loud. I opened the door to the children's room and couldn't believe my eyes. I checked each room, each one on each floor. I woke up my co-worker
kids
nurse and asked about the children. She couldn't find them either. We looked everywhere and put the hospital in lockdown. We set off all possible alarms and other emergency procedures. We didn't find them. All that was left behind were their clothes.
Close. Oh my god, yo, that is creepy. Ugh. Okay guys, that was my first reaction video. Tell me in the comments if I should do more and how I did. Hope you guys enjoyed. If there's a part 2, I'll definitely try and find it. Thank you guys so much for watching. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.